Going free your mind. Going free your mind, yeah. This is free your mind. This is free your mind. Gon' free it up, gon' free it up. Gon' free it up, gon' free it up. Gon' free it up, gon' free it up.
What's up, bird?
What's good? What's good?
And I beat that shit this week because I'm over here rushing this shit, trying to get everything intact and shit.
Yeah, let me get that life in here. There we go. Yo, what's poppin'?
Good.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, see, Sunny on the right type of time already. I was just busting out I blended today.
I thought this had been started.
Yeah, I got my good blend popping. Fruits and veggies, baby. Oh, shit, that's me. That's right there. That's Gucci. But yeah, let me kick off the. You we good?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Welcome to another episode of the Free Your Mind podcast, where you come to free your mind and help others free theirs. I'm your co-host, and I go by the name of Woon, and I'm all about balance like the bride and the groom. What's popping?
What's going on? I'm the other co-host. I go by the name of Selfmade, man. You gotta type in the self to know thyself.
Hey.
What is popping? We in the building. I was about to say, do we is there an official topic, or are we free flowing?
Let me get this shot going. Shout out to Kiki. I see you in the building. Vince Lewis, Facebook. I see y'all. Thank you for tapping in. To answer your question, so we the homegirl Jessica was supposed to have came on and shit, so you know, if she wanted to come spill her spill.
Okay.
Family, she said she wanted to talk about politics, religion, metaphysics, like you know what I mean? Either or. I guess she's down for whatever. So, you know, it's gonna be pretty lit. But in the meantime, in between time, we got young Achilles in the building. What's popping, son?
What's popping?
How you feeling?
I'm exhausted. I'm not gonna lie.
You say you tired?
That young college life, huh?
It's worse than I expected.
Hey man, hey, sometimes you got to be uncomfortable a little bit. That's all that is. It's gonna build you up.
And that's true. That's true.
Okay. Shout out to Jerry Webster. I see you in the building. Was popping.
Hey, I think I could just on the sidebar add some, because I'm just thinking like, man, we gotta add some round of applauses and some horns. You know what I'm saying? I think I figured out a way to be able to do that.
Oh, while we're live?
Oh no.
Okay. I was gonna say you get that shit popping. It's lit. What you sound like a plug-in or some shit?
Yeah, I would have to like upload a clip like that. Like I probably could be doing it back in.
Okay. Yeah, I can dig it. You wanna finish G thing?
I'm over
And
here on
again,
daddy duty real quick. I'm gonna go grab my son something to eat real fast, and I'm gonna be right back. Like a
oh yeah,
snack.
no, go ahead and do your thing.
All right.
How you feeling though, Sonny? How you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. Just trying to do everything that I have to do.
Yeah, I could dig that. So overall, right? I know that this you're coming to your the end of your first year of college, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Like what's your thoughts, what's your feelings about that first year, about the whole experience, I guess you want to say?
I say it's pretty good. Like the first semester was good. The second semester felt completely different.
Now, when you say, because you said the first semester was good, you said the second semester was completely different. So I guess the other option from good is bad, right? Was the second semester bad?
It wasn't bad, but it was definitely harder.
Oh, okay, I got you.
So yeah, it was just way harder, but
So what's the most interesting thing that you did in your freshman year of college? The most interesting. It could be anything. It don't have to be, nothing, just anything interesting or one of the most interesting things. I'm gonna ask you like that.
I went rock climbing in a class.
Oh, okay. With your whole squad? What you said with your whole class?
Yeah, we went climbing inside and outside for a class. Just
Oh, okay. How was that?
it was good. That was like my first time rock climbing.
Oh, okay. Now, when you was rock climbing at your own leisure, or was y'all like competing and shit?
We're just trying to get to the top.
Oh, okay. Did you make it to the top?
I did inside.
They got one outside too?
Yeah, they got one outside and inside, but the one outside, I didn't do that one, but I did something else to where I walked like on a log, like that was like floating in the air. Like it was like a log like this, and then we had to climb on a pole, and then we had to walk across the log, and it was like probably like 40 feet up, and we just had to rock across it. Or yeah.
Dang.
You had a safety bungee on you, or you were just
Yeah. There's like
balance game had to be nice.
yeah. There's someone holding like a string that's like attached to you.
Oh yeah, no, I got you.
Did you fall?
Nah.
You see, you made it all the way across, and then what? You just like drop down? They got a ladder or something?
Yeah, you gotta like just like slowly like jump off, and then they just like slowly pull you down.
Oh dang! But you afraid of heights, Woon?
Hell nah.
Oh, okay.
Well, nah, because I was going to say it depends on what it is. When I was younger, I probably was afraid of heights, but I'm talking about like even like ground level heights and shit. Instead of like skateboarding and shit, like standing up, I was a kid that was on the knee.
Sit on the knee though.
You know,
so you standing up is too high.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, trust that shit. Hey, but shout out to Danae Smith. Hey, she's actually somebody who actually went and did her thing as far as tapping in with the publisher, and doing her Dougie, like, you know what I mean? So, it's lit just like that.
Yeah, shout out Danae. Peace.
Or should I say Dr. Danae? She's a doctor.
Okay.
She said, I'm trying to go back to school and I'm almost 50. Okay. I know it's gonna be hard for me. Yeah.
You got it. You got it. You know you got it.
Yeah. I mean, shit. Life experience is gonna give you all the answers to all the tests.
Yeah. You know, just going through it is, you know, that's enough.
She said no, no, doctor. Hey, son. She said, what's your area of study? I know why you're laughing, but I'm gonna just let you rock.
I started off my first semester doing computer science, and personally, you know, at first it was cool. Like over time, I'm like, this is not for me, and then I switched it to engineering. Engineering is 10 times worse, so I'm switching it again. It's gonna do nursing or something like that. So,
you said health science?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
See, we had this conversation about that, right?
Yeah.
And I ultimately told him, like, don't feel bad about switching your major.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Because I told him, like, some people don't even really. Some people take a year or two of school off, like fresh out of high school. They'll take a couple years off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Figure out life a little bit, figure out themselves a little bit. Then, like, okay, this is kind of like what I feel like I'm geared towards doing this shit. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
Some people do their first year as a freshman, then they may take a year or two off. Like, you know what I mean? And then same situation, come back and do their shit. So I'll be telling him, you know what I mean, not to feel bad about doing that shit. Cause it's just like, I remember when I had him in, I put him in karate. How old was you, son? Like 6? Were you 6? 5?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there? I put him in karate. He wasn't feeling that shit. So it's just like, you know, kids, like, they gonna bounce around, they gonna move around. And I was trying to tell him, even as adults, we do that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when you start figuring your shit out, then it's gonna be like, okay, yeah, it's Gucci. But you know, the more experience that you have in life, the more that you get an opportunity to see who you are, then that's when you're gonna find out what you want to do. Like, you know what I mean? So don't feel pressured about it.
Hey, that shit's a part of life, man. Switching shit up is a part of life. That shit ain't gonna never stop. Even when you old and you think you got that shit figured out, you always gonna have something that's gonna, you feel me, make you have to change or adapt or switch something up. No matter what.
That's a fact.
I actually had a talk with my teacher today about something. I was doing this for some of the assignments I did in the class. Like, the class is super fast paced in engineering, right? So he'll assign us something and they'll be like, oh, it's due like right now. If you don't turn it in, you get a 0. So me and my friend will do the same thing. But if he gets ahead of me a little bit, then like we'll just send each other like the file and then we'll just submit it. So
y'all work in the system.
yeah. So that's what we were doing, because like he doesn't have time to like sit there and help us for like 10 minutes.
For sure.
Yeah. So I'm just like I feel like I don't deserve to get a 0 for something that I did halfway.
Right.
Or not like that, but like if I do it halfway and then I fall behind because of a little mistake, do I really deserve to get a 0?
Nah. And just so everybody knows, I don't condone any working of the system, son.
I'll call you after the show, like, yeah, go ahead, keep on.
After the show, yeah. Hey, on some separate type of time, this dude be having like all the links to the fights and shit. I be like, hey, son, give me the link to the fight. He be hacking all that shit. I be like, all right, bro. You
be having them sites too. I got them sites. I ain't paying for none of that shit. You said 99 what? For the fight? No, we're not doing that.
Yeah. But yeah, there's always gonna be a loophole in certain things, son. And I appreciate you being honest about, you know, just your interaction with teacher and, you know, just the interaction in college altogether. Because it's just like some people get stressed out about certain things like that. And it's just like, man, if you could find a way to win in that situation, why not take advantage? Like, you know what I mean? It ain't no sense of stress out about shit.
Yeah. But because like today, like he was like, oh, like, yeah. I basically seen that you guys were like file sharing and stuff. And I tried to explain to him like why we were doing it, and he's like, oh, okay. But he basically like, gave us zeros on the stuff. I'm just like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Because I'm switching majors anyway. So they said that.
Yeah.
They said that little thing like goes on our file, and I'm just like, all right, like whatever. Like, but I'm switching majors anyway, so I'm not even tripping.
Yeah, do all that shit for the shit that you ain't gonna do.
It's over.
And then, so when you get ready to do the shit that you do want to do, you got to start flying straight.
Yeah. I didn't even think it was that big of an issue, to be honest.
It's some hacker shit, son. I just said it. That's some hacker shit.
No, I didn't think they would find out.
You gotta change up certain shit. You know what I'm saying? Don't make it look somewhere. You know what I'm saying? They don't look the same.
For sure. I don't know if you can manipulate files like that, but if you can, then you should have did that. You tripping.
Yeah.
But how did they find out?
I don't know. He had like 4 people review it in the department, and they all were like, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. But
somebody took the stand.
Somebody else nigga know all that hacking shit too.
Exactly. They was like,
he backdooring some shit. Hold on, let me backdoor and see what's really going on behind here.
Hell yeah, but long story short though, don't let that shit stress you out. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like I'm not really too worried about the class no more. Like, I only got like, I don't have to deal with this class no more next semester, so I'm not really tripping like that.
You said it's only 3 weeks left, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that shit is done.
Yeah, it's a wrap.
Danae Smith, she said, that's okay. I switched mine in the past many times. Now I'm focused on doing something in the justice system for families. Okay, yeah, that's lit.
Mm-hmm.
That's super lit. Shout out to bro. I see you in the building. He said, what's up to you, Neff? Or some my perspective, but to you, what's up, Neff? Can you see the comments, son? In it, where you at? Hell no, huh? Okay, yeah.
For some reason, I think if you come in on your phone, you can't see him.
You can't see him, yeah, okay. Yeah, nah. But your uncle said, what's up, though?
What's good? Wait, is it on YouTube or?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube too, yeah.
Facebook, all that.
Wait, where are the comments coming from? Like majority?
Facebook for right now.
So yeah. You probably ain't even gonna see him on YouTube. Yeah, it ain't nothing on YouTube.
Yeah, nah, not at all. Okay, so I asked you what's the best experience that you had in your freshman year. So what would you say, or one of the worst things that you have in your freshman year? Other than the shit that you just now said.
I don't know. You just feel like super pressure to like get things done quick. Like, yeah, it's just one particular. You know what I'm talking about. One per class. They say they give it to you. You have like 7 minutes to do it. They're like, all right, you're done. You're not done. Like,
so you're saying it's kind of like on some time shit, really?
Yeah.
I wonder why. Like,
we get like 30. I swear we get like 20 papers every single time we go to that class, and it's 2 hours and 50 minutes.
But this is what you were majoring in, though, right?
Yeah, it's the major class.
So is that the only class that has that type of structure? Oh, okay.
All my other classes are cool. Like, this is like the only class.
I wonder why they trying to, you feel me, like keep everything so high paced.
I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. That's like, I think one of the hardest majors.
That's crazy.
I'm pretty sure.
they probably be wanting results
Right.
instantly. And when it comes to engineering.
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, you know, they probably put that pressure on you just to see if you know what I mean? How you gonna respond to it and shit.
Right. Exactly.
So you're finding out fast what you don't want to do. If they gonna play a time game, like you know what I mean? Like shit, y'all moving fast, I'm gonna stop fast.
Yeah. Good thing, because I'm not trying to switch my life, Mar. There are years crazy. It's not crazy, but like me personally, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, nah, I hear you. But yeah, it's just always. And I know we talk off the phone, but you know, I mean off camera, but you know, I'm gonna just say it for the people who's watching. You know, just take your time and you know, for sure, take time to have fun and you know, enjoy the college experience. You feel me?
Hard to do that. I'm not gonna lie.
I know. Hey, that you gonna find that out when you get out of school. Like you know what I mean? When it's just like, damn, when do I get time for me? You feel me? So it's just like, man, start to do that there. Like, do your school shit. Then you know, enjoy that shit. Just don't be work, because that shit's gonna be trash for real.
I don't know. I feel like I had way more leeway first semester. The second semester is just
yeah. Shit gonna get.
You see, the thing about next semester is I get to pick my classes.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, okay.
The days and the times, I have full control, so I can do whatever I want.
Oh yeah, so yeah, that's it right there.
Because like this semester, didn't really have control.
So you kind of is going to set it up kind of like how you like what you feel like that your shit should be, and then so now what I just now told you now that may be in your favor, right? To do both, to be like in school and then also enjoy the experience as well, right?
Yeah, I feel like I could do way more free. Like I can have like way more time to just do other stuff with me picking my own schedule and classes.
Hell yeah, that sounds lit.
I could decide if I want harder classes at the same time, or yeah, well, I could pretty much pick how that goes. So
yeah, nah, that shit sounds like it's gonna be litty. Okay,
but I'm tomorrow though to get my major changed. So
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Oh, I have a meeting tomorrow to like get my major changed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna figure out what classes that I should take next semester for the major.
Got you. Hey, real quick, hey, who was that who just now came in?
It was Drew.
Who?
Oh, is that who that was? Because I saw an eye on this thing, but I didn't know who that was.
I didn't see a name. I just seen like a
name. That was Drew. I don't know what happened. He just backed out, so I'm thinking he's gonna jump back in.
Oh, okay. But while we're there, I see LB in the building. What's popping, LB? Hey, LB, you gotta start pulling back up. LB was a regular for a minute.
What's up with LB, man? Yeah, he was. He used to pull up all the time.
Got that boy Manny Singh in the building. Was popping. Got Kareem.
I seen him in the comments the last time.
Who, LB?
The last show. I mean, on the Owaspy show. I think I seen him in the comments.
Oh, Drew said he got bad reception. Okay, that's what that is.
Okay. Yeah. Oh shit. Where LB at? He on Facebook? It's just not popping up on this side, huh?
Yeah, nah, he didn't comment, but I could just see who.
Oh, I see what you're saying here.
Yeah. Yeah, son. Hey, what? You still there, Sonny, or you just got your camera off?
He probably went to the bathroom or something.
Oh yeah, no, he probably trying to get the desk over here.
Oh yeah, there you go. Man, where her old girl at?
Yeah, nah, I was just about to Let me try to move this thing real quick.
Oh, here you go. What'd you do? Get on the computer or something?
Yeah, I switched it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is way better.
You can see the comments now?
Yeah, I can see the comments.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I sent her the link. It said she ain't been active in a minute, so I don't know. Hopefully she's getting her thoughts together or her notes.
Hey, so what's up with you, Achilles, man? You believe in God?
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you?
Like Christianity or?
I'm not super into like the religious stuff, but like the religion, but yeah.
So then how did you get introduced to God? Like do you read the Bible or do you like read any kind of text?
Nah.
No.
He said, nah.
it was just from like a young age and stuff.
Okay. And so what's your concept of God then?
I will say this before you answer that.
I'm gonna let you all right. No, go ahead.
We used to, of course, when he was younger and shit, we used to pray before we ate dinner. We used to do, just different little things like that.
Right.
Especially at that time, like, you know what I mean? Because there was that phase that I was still at the edge of that. Then it was just like, okay, so it was kind of different for him. But I just want to.
We all was there. You know what I'm saying? I was there too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, no, go ahead. So you guys, rock out.
Yeah, like what's your concept of God?
Wait, when you say concept, like what? Wait, like what exactly?
Like what is God to you?
Oh, I say it's like it's someone that just looks over everyone in society, basically.
You said looks over everyone inside?
Or in society.
Oh, in society. Oh, okay. How do you okay. And like, so when it comes to like the creation of the world or the universe, like, do you side with like the biblical stance or like what's your take on like how things came to be?
Honestly, that I still think about that. I don't really know.
Oh, okay.
But wait, what do you guys think about that though? Like how that started?
The creation?
Yeah.
Oh well, yeah. No, you can answer that, Self.
Uh,
What's up, Alicia? I see you.
I think it's when it comes to creation, like how everything came to be. Everything was already. It was just in a certain state to where it wasn't physical. So then, from the darkness or from the chaos came the structure, which is what we see right now, like reality and what we call life.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like how they talk about it in the Bible when it says, when God said, "Let there be light," it's kind of synonymous as far as like everything being in darkness. You know what I mean? The stillness, and then the expansion coming, which is the light coming out of the darkness, which is the structure, and that's when we get the stars, the suns, the moons, you know what I mean? All the physical attributes of what's already in the darkness. So technically, I mean, could you say it's a creation? Yeah, I guess you could say it's a creation, but at the same time, like, it's just a creation of. It's like it's like the transformation. You know, it's like going from a caterpillar to a butterfly.
There we go.
You know what I'm saying?
And I'm gonna pick up from right there because when we talk about creation, when we're talking to certain people, you know, we use that word just like we use the word God because it's something that people are more privy to hearing, right? But the word creation, I would use the word form, right? Because if everything already is being in its smallest foundation of consciousness and energy, that you can't get rid of those two things. So it forms itself into different aspects and different basically forms, like different formulas. So every little thing has its own formula, right? So that's how it's formed because it's forming itself through the different conscious and energy, right? So it's just like you have your own formula that makes up what Achilles is. The sun has its own formula. Trees have their own formula. Like, you know what I mean? But they're all stemming from the same source, but they just formed into something outside of what that source is. But the source is still inside of that, but it's just the form that's taking place. So when we talk about transformation, the word form is still in transformation, right? So then we just transform from one thing to the next. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. So everything already is, but everything just goes into different forms at different times.
So when you say somebody's looking over society, do you feel like that's like a person, a being like that has a body like us, or do they like are they soul, spirit? Like, what do you think? Are they physical,
I'd probably say
non-physical?
like a spirit.
More like a spirit.
Yeah.
Does that spirit?
Why are you smiling? Well, why is he smiling? He always does that.
Who, me? Oh no, because I'm listening right now. I'm like a fly on the wall, baby.
Kareem says, so the forms are by chance or is it random?
Well, I don't think there's nothing random. But that is a great question. So when you say by chance, to me, by chance and random, I think that those are kind of the same word.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you say by chance or is it random? Nah. I think that that the consciousness and energy, because it's conscious, and it has the energy to form into whatever that it's going to do. So it is what it is. So I would never say that it's random or chance. It's just a part of what is, if that makes sense.
Right.
That is a great question though, because it's just like, hold on, we're just doing some wild shit.
Right. Hey, oh, he not in the chat. I was gonna say because Kareem came in here one of the last shows, but it was already going crazy, so I think he had backed out or something.
Oh yeah, no, we we briefly talked about that because he said he had questions for Cosmon from the Owaspi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think Kareem wasn't feeling something that he was saying. Some shit.
Everybody could have, for real. He
Yeah.
should have sent the invite to the Hebrews and all of them. It would have really went up.
But yeah, son. So what are you? I know that you mentioned that you are going to be able to pick your own classes and schedules, right?
Yeah.
So with that level of freedom that you have, what are you looking forward to this next coming up year?
I say like just being like super active, because last semester I was I was like active, like just whether it was like going to the gym or just being outside.
Oh, I thought you meant like academically active. You mean like in your own personal Like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, because I feel like last semester I was able to be like way more active. Like, I could go like 3 to 4 days a week, but now, I mean, I could go 3 to 4 days a week now, but I'm way more tired, so it's kind of hard for me to want to. I have to like force myself to do
Okay.
those things.
So a big part of what you're trying to do is trying to get physically fit.
Well, yeah, yeah, just like everything, just like a lot of running and stuff like that. Just like
Yeah.
maintain like
Health
that's
as well.
especially like for my basketball season. Like, I'm just trying to like go back to how like that was. I was like super like mentally and
Active. Yeah.
like, yeah, super
Gotcha.
active.
For the people that's watching, how tall are you?
I'm 5'11".
That nigga is lying.
I'm 6'3".
And how much do you weigh?
I don't even know, probably like 170 or something.
Oh man, yeah, man, you get active like that, boy, you be out there tearing shit up for real.
Yeah, like
Right.
Because where you at right now, it's like you got a clean slate, and you could just bulk up one time. You feel me?
I could. To be honest,
I mean, that sounds like what you said that you try to do.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I
And
don't
I'm
know.
not saying like on no muscle man, and I'm just saying like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just get your shit tight for real.
Oh no, I feel like I just need more time to myself next semester.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just need more time. Like
But
I
you
need
in
more time.
the you on
So,
campus?
nah, I still stay at home,
Oh, okay.
but right now I go to school like 4 days a week. But I'm there for I'm there for super long, like throughout the week.
There you go, Kareem. You in here.
All right, for sure. How y'all doing, man?
What's going
chilling. What's
on,
good with
man?
the rain?
Yeah.
Man, same old, same old. I wanted to expound on just your
Oh,
you know,
geez,
your idea of
you coming in with questions?
yeah, just because it sounded I just want to because when y'all saying okay, like I kind of get what y'all saying. Y'all like okay, everything was already in existence. So basically, creation is just what it sounds like to me is the evolution of what was already in existence, right?
Yeah, if we
Yeah,
and,
you can
and
say
I
that.
appreciate you using the word creation, but you know, and we can still use that word, but I like formulation. So if we can, we're saying the same thing. Yeah,
So by saying that, do you mean like because are you going back to like what everything is made of like as in what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word I'm looking for? Because we're all made of what?
mm,
Atoms and elements and all of that.
Elements. Yeah, is that what you mean by that? Like
Atoms,
like like uh, like we're just a formulation of elements which were already in existence or something like that?
yeah. So it's just like if you got, and I'm gonna use this analogy. If you got a jug of water, right? With that jug of water, you take the water, you make Kool-Aid. You're gonna make some tea. You're gonna do all these different things by way of how you formulate what it is, right? Kool-Aid has a different formula than tea. Um, so I'm just saying, so the water would be the consciousness and energy, or what you just now said, it would be the elements, right?
He backed out, or like he probably got kicked or something.
Damn, I was gonna spill too. But shit, man, you got to come back for me to spill. Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna just speak because he might be in the comment section. But for the most part, it's just like saying, God always
There you
Oh, there
go.
you go.
You back in here? Uh-oh. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, now he probably gonna come back in.
Yeah.
But what I was getting at is if we say that God always is, then we have to understand that everything always is because everything comes from this God source, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So as soon as God started forming things, then that's when it took the form and the shape of different things. So it's always been existed, the natural element of what things are, but they just got formed into different things. So again, we could use the word creation, right? But at the end of the day, there's nothing new. Everybody already understands there's nothing new. Like, you know what I mean? Everything is already new.
Yeah, my bad. I was hearing y'all on and off. I got like bad reception, I think.
Oh shit, we got Adrian Mason in the building. What's popping? Hey, he said make believe in the making of a believer. Hey, that's crazy work. but yeah, you can hear me, Kareem?
Yeah, my bad. I got bad reception.
Oh no, you're okay.
And then he just backed out.
And I was just gonna go back.
Yeah.
So in layman's religious terms, like God always is, right? There is no beginning, there is no ending. So everything that comes from God also by default always is. It just had to be formed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm at with that.
Man, that was gonna be a good build, man, and he got bad reception.
Man, right?
Same with Drew. Where y'all at, man? Somebody said, who's this? What is bro?
Oh yeah, no, that's my partner right there. What's good with you? That's my partner. My partner Bill.
So you saying nothing is created because all the elements already existed? Exactly.
Yeah, so ultimately, because again, like we could like how we it depends on how you look at the word created, right? Because it's just like, if I'm saying that it's just like somebody saying that they're cooking and then they're making something from scratch. You understand what I'm trying to say? Because there's some shit that when you say I'm cooking it, but everything that you already had was already there. You're just putting it together.
Right.
Right? You're just forming it in that formula as opposed to making something from scratch, right? But if you make something from scratch, those scratch items are still have always been.
Again, yeah, exactly.
So it's not nothing being created. Everything is already there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So so that's what I'm saying. So when it comes down to that, but then I guess we would have to go into, I guess, what if God is made up of elements, if people want to take that route, and then some people would say that God created elements.
Yeah. I was about to say, they're gonna say, no, he's not made up of elements. He can't be because he created it.
Yeah, but you would have to have something in you in order to pull it out of you.
Yeah.
No matter what, it always existed.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Hey, what's up to Scorp in the building?
Real
What's
quick.
poppin'? Hey, I sent you the link too, Scorp. But you probably working and shit.
So how do you think, like, because I mean there has to be like some original point of like creation, even if we talking about like elements, right? Or do you think like the elements and everything has already been existence?
Yeah, see, for me, right? So, and I was just now making that point, like right before you hopped on. So for me, this is just my perspective. If we say that God created elements, right? Where and this may sound like a crazy question, but I don't think that he's just pulling shit from nothing, because you can't pull nothing from nothing. You can't pull something from nothing. Everything already either has to be within or a part of God, right? So I think that the elements are God, right? God is everything. I think that the elements are that, and we're just different forms of what those elements are. So I don't even think that elements ever did not exist. But when we talk about elements, again, for me, mints is mental, and then that comes down to consciousness, and then the Ella part is electricity or energy, which comes down to energy and consciousness. Like, you know what I mean? And I think that those two things can never be created nor destroyed, and the same thing with God is always going to be.
Okay, so if the elements are God and they're not random and they're not they're not random, uh but at the same time there becomes a form, isn't there still a place there where you have to choose either evolution? Because then what you will be saying is that, okay, well, the elements evolve into some type of form, or you
Sure.
would have to say that the form itself comes from a design, which would be the creator. So you still kind of got to choose, don't you?
Nah, yeah. So when it comes down to that, right? So that's why it's the elements, right? I just now said it. The energy and the consciousness. So the consciousness is what's going to keep it structured. That's what makes the form, right? So the energy is just backing the consciousness, and vice versa, right? You can't separate those two things. So
Right.
it's not just willy nilly. Like, the consciousness is what allows it to do what it wants to do. Like, you know what I mean? So
Where,
it's
where,
just
where does the energy and the consciousness? What's the separation, or is there a separation? Like, because you're saying energy and consciousness, like it's two different things. How do we define what is energy and what is consciousness, or is it all the same thing?
well, from the words that we're using, we understand that consciousness would be a sense of awareness, or how you produce thoughts, right?
It's
And if we're using the word energy, we know that energy is what put things in motion. Like, you know what I mean? So just from that standpoint right there, we have the energy would be the will, and the consciousness would be the opportunity to choose. So if we go into like free will and shit, right? If we talk about what's in the nucleus of an atom, and I say this a lot, you have the positive energy, negative energy, then the neutral energy. So the neutral energy is based on the positive and negative, but then you get to choose what you want to be. So that goes all the way back down into to the uh to the Godhead, or that consciousness and energy, or the elements.
Right, but I'm kind of trying to stick to the basics. So, like when we just talking about elements, and
Mhm.
then we immediately went into uh, like energy versus um, like thought or awareness. Where like how does that part happen? You see what I'm saying?
Oh,
It's
no,
all
no, it's not a verse. It's not a
it's,
verse at all.
right, but it's all elements. And then we're talking about, as far as creation is concerned, is there creation, or is there evolution? Is there evolution of the elements, or is there just creation of the elements? You see what I'm saying? And then you bring in um,
Okay.
energy and basically awareness. So,
you could say an evolution.
mhm,
It's like for instance, the gas liquid solid. You know what I mean? Like
It's different forms.
you got one element, and then you can say it evolves into the solid part of the same element, and then it can evolve into the gas phase of itself. And then vice versa, like it could devolve and go backwards. Like, you know what I'm
right.
saying?
But what we see is that all of those things are by a specific design, right?
Uh-huh.
Based on specific elements, and you have to design those elements in a specific way to get that design, whether it's gas, whether it's water, or whether it's whatever.
Right.
So my point in the beginning was that if it's not random, or if it's not just by chance, then it has to be a design, right?
Right.
Even though there's elements that already exist in all of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
There still has to be, like you said, an awareness, right? Where where that design is getting created to make what we are now and everything else that's in existence.
Yeah, we're saying the same thing.
So then in that case, then we would have to say that there is creation versus just an evolution of elements that turn into something because they're in existence and basically evolve. Because there's kind of like one or the other. I don't think there's nothing in between, right?
So you're saying, oh no, wait. So, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I just want to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. So you're saying because it has design that it had to be created to be designed like that?
Well, when we're talking about something that's always been in existence, and then the question was, well, how do you think? Like, I think it was something about like, what is God to you, or how do you think we got here? Kind of like that's where it kind of goes to, right? Well,
I think the difference would be the fact that the design is the creator itself. Does that make sense?
So
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, it is.
It's like
so how do the elements get awareness?
how they was already they were already aware.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. So when you say elements, and I'm not trying to reach, but when we talk about the word ment is short for mental, right? Just like an environment, that's just like you're influenced by where you're at mentally or can it affect your mind. And then energy or the Ella part of it is element, it's consciousness and energy. So it's always you can't create. If we're using the word create, you can't create without consciousness and energy.
Right.
So how are you going to create consciousness and energy if you understand my perspective of what an element is, you can't create that if you don't have it already. Like, you know what I mean? Or if God is not if it's not there, like, you know what I mean? So we would have to question from your perspective, and I'm not trying to throw this on you, but I'm saying from your perspective, you would say that God created something. So that means God has the mind to create something and he has the energy to create something. So we're still consciousness and energy at its finest form.
You see that in your reality too, like, you know what I mean? Like the tree and the seed from the tree is the same thing. Like you could dissect the tree and get everything you need, you know, just like if you was to dissect the actual tree. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing on the, you know, consciousness and energy side.
Okay, I was just trying to get an understanding of how y'all saw it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Hey, Kareem be coming with them good ass questions though in my life.
No, for real. He said, so basically you saying elements are final and there can be no new ones. No man or God, man can create no new ones out of nothing because nothing can be created or formed out of nothing. So basically it's a wrap.
Yeah, and that sounds so finite, right? but the dope shit about that is that we have a thing called infinity, right? So it's infinite possibilities of how these different formulas could come about. So even though the elements may be what they are, the possibilities are endless. Like, you know what I mean? So in this reality, we see what we see. But
Yeah.
they say that they discover shit all the time. Like, you know what I mean? Not to say that something was created, but it's just being discovered, right? If we look at the word discovered, like when we find something new, it's not new. It's new. It's not N-E-W new, but it's K-N-E-W, right? It's new already because it's just being discovered, meaning it was covered up, or we can use the word covered up, but it's a discovery, right? So everything is already what it is.
Just like your memory, remember, you know what I mean? It's like you're putting the shit back together. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
To kind of go off of that same thing that you was just reading, that question, there's still the possibility that in our realm or whatever, like kind of how you were saying, Woon, is that we only have access to so many elements, because I can't remember, I looked it up a while back, but they discovered elements, a new element within the last, let's say 50 years or so, right?
No, that's cool.
That was added to the elemental chart. So
yeah,
based on the science that we know right now, in that elemental chart, there's definitely could be different elements, you know, that could be added on there, which will expound our understanding of life.
I agree. I definitely agree. And that's what I was just now saying. So, you know, they discovered it. It wasn't created. They discovered it.
Yeah.
So it's not new, but they're just now figuring it out. They just now discovered it.
He said, the concept of God creating the world out of nothing, also known as a creation ex nihilo, is a central tenet. It implies that God, being the ultimate source, did not need any pre-existing matter or substance to bring the universe into being.
Yeah, if it's saying it implies, that's a crazy word, but we could rock with that. And it says being the ultimate source did not need, yeah, nah, because God is everything. So
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Himself out of nothing says, so when the Bible said God created himself out of nothing and didn't need any other elements or matter, since we are gods, can't we do the same thing?
Well, if it says, I don't, because I never heard or even read the God creation story, right? I've never heard that. I've heard that God always existed.
I've heard that too, yeah.
I've never heard a God creation story, like, not at all.
Like he created himself out of nothing and didn't need any other elements or matter.
Yeah, I don't know what, and I could be wrong because I haven't read the whole Bible. Like, you know what I mean? So correct me if I'm wrong. But
But
what I usually hear is that God always existed.
but if what he's saying is, so we don't need any other elements or matter, I would say, yeah, like we don't need any other, like we are all of the elements. So we can do the same thing and are doing the same thing.
You know, I wasn't familiar with that. I just looked it up though. It says the word is like ex. I don't know how to pronounce it. Ex nihilo, which means out of nothing. So I wasn't familiar with that, but that is a good point because if we're arguing that, I mean, based on Bible belief versus based on what I call a universal belief. You know what I mean?
Right.
That is very interesting that it says that God made the universe out of nothing. It doesn't say out of himself and what was he made, because I've heard y'all argue this before, and I figured, I'm like, where does that necessarily come from that we're saying that the elements are God? But then I understand that this is all we understand on a human level, is that everything in our universe is made out of elements. You get what I'm saying? And that's where it kind of comes in, that there's different elements and all that other kind of stuff. But so technically what the Bible was saying is that he didn't necessarily make the world out of himself, which would be, according to you, elements, but he made it out of nothing, which would be his imagination or his thought process. And we can't necessarily say that thought process is elements, because that's what I was kind of trying to ask you before. Is like, I understand that you're saying that, but where's the proof that a thought process? Because if you're saying thought process is elements, then it would have to be certain elements that combine to give you thoughts, but we don't have any proof of that. Yet we do have proof of H2O, like you were giving an example of before, which is by a certain design. So what would be the design for a thought process? We don't have that design. So if we're saying that certain elements make thought or make the idea of thought, then we would have to have some type of evidence of that, or we're just saying it basically. You get what you follow me?
No, I hear what you're trying to say. So real quick, you said that, I'm assuming because Travell is kind of saying the same thing, I guess. Well, he said that the Bible said God created itself out of nothing, but then you just now said that created the universe
when I looked it up, it said that God created the universe out of
nothing. Yeah, no, I'm listening. I got you. And I just want to be clear that I'm reading one thing and then I'm hearing you say another thing. So I just want to make sure that everything is in the same thing. So if we go with the idea that the universe was created out of nothing, where do you pull nothing? Like where does nothing reside?
It would, I guess, it will reside in the idea of what God had thought about within his brain.
Okay, I rock with that. So it's still coming from something being God, right?
Right.
Okay,
The darkness.
But what I'm saying is, but we've already attributed elements as to being God. But if elements are outside of God because he created that out of his own thoughts, then the rest of what we were saying about the formulation.
Hold on, wait. I can't let you do that. I can't let you do that.
But
Because
you follow me?
No,
Because
I hear what you're saying.
The formulation of everything would be just what has already existed. But
Right. So think about this. Think about it in the sense of
real quick. My bad.
Go ahead.
You said that God created it from something outside of itself, but we just now both said that it came from God's thoughts, right?
I didn't say outside of itself. I said it came from his thoughts. So it didn't come from anything that was in existence. Meaning nothing was put together. And even when I'm looking at it, as it's saying here, it says the word is XNIHILO,
right?
Which means from nothing. So that presumes that God made all things in existence without using pre-existing materials. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah. So what? When you say pre-existing, are you saying before God? Like, what are we saying?
Any material that pre-existed that was in existence.
Yeah, because there were nothing. It wasn't physical at that point. That's why. So
using the word material.
You're right. It wasn't physical, and it still would not be, right? If because what I'm saying is,
if it wasn't formed yet, then yeah, no, it would.
Right,
it would
but
be
God was already in existence. But what we know of right now is elements. That's what we're made of. So God created the universe.
No, but I'm saying when I say pre-existing, I'm saying before. So it was existing before it was formed in the matter that you're talking about. Does that make sense? So like those elements were in a different form in the thoughts of God before they formed themselves or created themselves into the elements that they are known as today.
Right.
Okay, but what I'm saying, so then they would still have to be a part of it, right? Because because we already said that. That's why I kind of started off with that in the beginning. I was asking y'all, is God like elements? You know what I'm saying? And then y'all kind of like agree with that, right?
Yeah.
So we've already said that. So it didn't necessarily say that. It said he created the universe from nothing, not from himself, right? And we've talked about this before, and I think that you said that this was a long time ago, and I think, and remember, my argument was that I don't think thoughts can come from nothing, especially when you're talking about the original thought. You see what I'm saying?
For sure.
There's no pre to the original thoughts. You see what I'm saying? There was no thoughts that was before the first thought. You get what I'm saying? So it comes from nothing. So if we're looking at formulation
from thought,
pre-existing, like how we all got here, how the universe is here, it's elements. But if God made the universe from nothing, which means no pre-existing materials, which elements would qualify as pre-existing materials, then we can't even say necessarily that. You follow me?
I follow what you're saying, and that's what I was trying to say earlier, right? So can we say that God is everything?
I would say that God is a part of everything. So I think those two things, even though they sound very similar, they mean completely different things. You see what I'm saying?
No, I'm saying so, like, because I have to go back to this nothing idea, right? So if you're saying, because what you just now said was God created something out of nothing, and then you kind of double down on that by saying that there is no original thoughts, so thoughts would have to come from nothing as well, right?
I believe so.
Okay, so
that's both things. That's both things coming from nothing. Like that would be.
That's almost saying that God is nothing.
Right.
No, that would be saying that God is something that we haven't necessarily identified. You get what you follow me? All we understand is what, like I said before, we understand what's on this earthly realm and in our universe, which would be elements and the things that were formulated to make everything that we understand.
But you were given access
because
but you were given access though.
To a certain degree.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, it would be just like, some scientists say that, I mean, like just people say just in general, like, we don't understand everything. I believe that in the realm that we are in, because we only have access, we already talked about there being other elements and other things outside of the universe that we're in. Scientists agree with that. You get what I'm saying? So even with that being said, we don't understand everything. You feel me? Being in the realm or in the maybe even in the manifestation that we're in, we don't have a full understanding or the capability to have the full understanding of everything. You get what I'm saying? So the way that we see it is because human beings are self-centered as far as we think we're the middle of the universe. You see what I'm saying? And we think that everything works based on how we view things or how our universe works. God can be outside of everything that we understand. You get what I'm saying? So because we are elements and everything in our universe is made up of elements doesn't necessarily mean that those are the that's the being or the DNA of God as well.
I get that. So when you say that, right? Because you said that outside of this realm, there's different elements, right?
Right.
And you said that there's some things that we probably won't understand because we're in this realm. So say, I don't know if you believe in like 6th dimension, 7th dimension, and things like that. Because we're not operating in a 6th or 7th dimension, do you think that we have a somewhat of an understanding of what that may look or feel like?
I mean, we can make it up, but now we're talking about, pretty much heaven or hell. Pretty much, it's the same argument as somebody says there's a hell or there's a heaven.
I'm not even trying to go that deep.
The 6th dimension or these other dimensions, and I have no idea what they look like or have. You get what I'm saying?
So you know that before they came out with 3D glasses, everything else was not 3D, right?
Right.
And then they came out with 3D glasses.
Right.
So we were able to see different dimensions while we were not in the 3rd dimension yet, correct? Or was we already in the 3rd dimension? We just didn't know.
We can see 3D with our own eyes. We don't need glasses, right?
Okay, so I'm just saying, so the discovery of things, going back to the word discovery, just like you said, some people discovered some new elements, right? So it's just like, so the more that we experience ourselves from this perspective, the more that we're going to discover different things, right?
That's facts.
There.
Yeah.
It's 7 p.m. by the way.
So when we use the word, new or something like that, it's just like, okay, the more that we live, the more that we learn, the more that we figure out, right? So
but because we discover new things and we get new understanding from new things that are coming in as we process them, does that still but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're understanding God, because God can still be outside of, of course.
Oh yeah, no, I was gonna touch that too. Right. I was gonna touch that. Go ahead.
Of course there could be, we're understanding a part of him if God is a part of everything, right? But what I'm saying is that what if we can only understand in this form 10% of them, no matter how much new information comes in? You get what I'm saying? So then we would still never have the full understanding of what God is or who God is in a way, as far as when we're coming down to a scientific level and we're talking about, I think we can understand him in a spiritual way, right? But on a scientific level, when we're talking about what everything is made of and how things are formulated, to say that because there's so much more to God. You see what I'm saying? There's so much more to God that we can't say that, okay, everything basically like we know what God is because of everything that is formed.
So when we say, and I appreciate you for saying that. So but you would, from your human perspective right now, you would say that God is everything, right?
No, remember I told you specifically, I think that God is a part of everything, and I think that it's a huge difference from saying God is everything to God is a part of everything.
Okay, so even with God being a part of everything from your perspective, when you look at everything, and I'm just saying just you, but I'm saying for everybody who's ever discovered something, they're discovering what God is a part of, right?
Right.
So that's what I was trying to say. So the more that we discover things, the more that we're going to get an understanding of what God is, right? But if we look at everything, everything has elements in there, correct?
Yeah, everything that we know of, right?
For sure. So I'm not saying anything different. I'm just saying that if everything comes from this one God and everything is made up of elements, then we could attribute these same elements to be coming from the same God source. That's all I'm trying to say.
Coming from the same God source, but not made up of the same God source. I think that's the difference. For example, I can say, okay, I'm the creator of a pot, right? And that pot is made up of and of course in our universe it all comes down to the basic elements, right?
For
But
sure.
that pot is made up of clay, right? I'm
Right.
made up of skin and bones. Again, when we get down to the basics of what's everything in our universe, it comes back down to the same thing. But like this person mentioned, it said that God made the universe out of nothing, which meant not of himself, but out of nothing. You see what I'm saying? So
But
that adds.
that's what I'm saying. So, but we have to pause right there when we say nothing, because where does nothing reside? I still
Yeah,
don't.
what is that?
Exactly. So that's what I mean by saying that it goes back into what I already said, is that we're not going to understand everything because we're in a realm where elements have to exist for us to have understanding.
Hey,
See,
but like even understanding the creation, right?
mhm.
Like what do you say, formed in our likeness. We can see
Right.
that in our own, we can see that through what we do as human beings. You feel me? Like we can see ourselves in our creations. Like when I make music, I see, you know what I'm saying? Like that's literally all of me, soul wise, spiritually, in the form of music that people can physically listen to. So it's the same thing on the back end. Like the inspiration of the thought of God to even create this got to come from somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like the like as how you said earlier, like you said, it's all by design, which means it had to be intricately put into pieces and structured a certain way for it to be what it is, or
So
else it couldn't even be. You see
so
what I'm
like
saying?
for example, when I gave the example of the pot, so like if you're a potter, right, and you make pots, then we could say that pot is you, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. But is that pot you?
It's a part of you. It came from you.
Right, but that pot is not you. Or else you wouldn't call it
Especially if though, look,
let me
check
tell
this
you why
out.
it's not you real quick. Let me tell you why it's not you, because if it was you, you would be calling it self-made, right?
Nah, I would call it a pot.
There would be no
It's a
distinction.
different form.
It's a different form of me. I just brought it out of myself. I brought it out of myself in the form of a pot.
Right.
Because I thought of something that I needed for myself to be able to hold some water or to be able to put some food in or whatever. So then I create this thing that's in my being, in myself, in my thoughts, and I bring it and formulate it into the physical with the same elements, that are within me.
It's the same. It's the same story about Adam and Eve, to where he used Adam to make Eve. It depends on how you want to take that story. It wasn't like he created her from something different. Like it was just from the same thing.
And
Right. No,
that's the
I
whole
follow,
point of
I follow y'all.
formulation. Like when you talk about creation, every time you see something created, it's the same thing, but it's going to be in a different form. Even if you got two apple trees.
Because that's the design from the creator, and that's what I mean. It's kind of hard to have the conversation when we don't have an understanding of what's outside of our universe or what's outside of our design. You know what I mean? But if something if something created us, right, then we may not have the qualities to figure out
Hold
what
on.
is outside of our design. So then we're just pretty much can only assume based on the way that we're designed, if you follow what I'm saying.
No, I get that, but so are you saying? So when you say outside of our design, are you saying it's outside of God design too, or just our design?
No, our design, because if you keep following, even what Selfmade keeps saying, is like when we create something, it comes from our mind, it comes from this, it comes from that. So
For sure.
we're only thinking about human structure, human design, the way things are here in this universe, how they happen here in this universe. You get what I'm
Yeah, that's
saying?
what I'm saying. So I'm saying you're
So
saying
what
that.
we do is we're putting ourselves in the shoes of God, but we really don't understand how everything works. You see what I'm saying? Because even if you are the pot, you still took the pot and took that out of something that pre-existed.
Hey,
You
but
see what
just
I'm
like
saying?
you said, a second ago, you said we just discovered some new elements.
Right.
So at the same time, this discovery level is not, it's not just a one time we discovered something and
Right.
it's over. Like it's a
Yeah.
continuous thing. So when you talk about understanding everything, that's the whole point of discovering all these new things and creating all these new things, is because we're going through the motion of understanding everything. If it's infinite, it's going to be an infinite journey of understanding and trying to figure out everything.
And even if we, because you're the realms that you're talking about, that I'm gonna say this for the sake of this conversation, that we haven't been to yet. Um, there's other things that exist in those realms, and they probably have that understanding of what that is. And I don't think that we're limited to this realm. So when we transform into whatever realm that you're talking about, then we're going to be connected to that part of God. Like, you know what I mean? So
Exactly.
at the end of the day, we're like everything that God kicks out, we're going to be able to identify that this consciousness, or that this God did that. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think that we're going to ever say, hey, well, that shit just came from nothing. No, we're always going to say, hey, this came from the source. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think that unless we can, that's what I was trying to say. If we can identify where nothing is and really just be like, yep, that's nothing over there. But it's just like, but as soon as you say that's nothing, you identified it as something, even if it's nothing. It's still identified as being nothing. Like, you know what I mean? So it's still identifiable, right? We just don't put a name on it yet. So when we say, so when we say
Absolutely.
nothing,
I think we're saying the same thing,
no, we
but
are.
but the reason why it's identifiable is because of the design that we're in. You see what I'm saying? So even in what we think of as nothing, right, is basically based on elemental structure. So even space, even darkness, even everything would be based on an elemental structure. But again, I don't want to keep going in circles with this, but again, it says that God created the universe out of nothing, not out of himself. You see what I'm saying? So that elemental structure that the reason why we can define it all the time is because it's based on that elemental structure, based on the universe that we're in. But there's
Right.
right. So that's not necessarily by us figuring out more of that structure isn't necessarily going to get us to the understanding of who God is or what God is.
I got you. So you saying, and I know you don't want to keep going around. So you saying God took a ball of nothing and inserted his whatever he wanted to in this ball of nothing, and then pushed it out.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm saying that all creation based on that verse or whatever would have been created out of nothing. And then I think that an original thought could be nothing. You see what I'm saying? Like original thought could be created. Like thought is created. Like you know what I'm saying? When God spoke those words, like you say, before a word is comes, a thought has to come. But if it's the original thought, then it's coming from nothing. There's no nothing tangible. There's no material that creates a thought. You see what I'm saying? That's the
Right.
original thought. You get what I'm saying? Maybe in our universe, then yeah, some electrons and whatever that's clicking in our brain that create a thought, right? But if we're talking, but God is not made up of these same elements that we are, so it's not the same structure that creates a thought. So nothing would be, um,
Hold on, wait. You said God is not created in the same elements that we are.
right. That's what I've been saying the whole time because it
No, I'm
says,
saying, but you saying that that's fact, or you saying that you believe that?
well, I'm saying based on if we're going off what the Bible says, and it says that He created the universe out of nothing. which
No, I'm
means
saying, it doesn't say what God is though.
right, but it does say that he created the universe out of nothing, which means that he brought all things into existence without using pre-existing materials. So if God was already in existence, right, to say that he created the universe from nothing would imply that he didn't create the universe from necessarily himself.
But also the Bible.
As in the materials that he's made of. Do you follow what I'm saying?
No, I get you. So you're saying that. So you're saying that there's something outside of God, is what you're saying right now.
I'm saying that God created things that are I guess you can say it that way. That would be, a form of wordplay. You could say that there's
No. I'm just
outside
asking.
of God. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because the way that I look at it, a rock is not God. You know what I'm saying? A pot is not God. That's why I said if a pot
No,
was God,
I'm saying.
I wouldn't have to make a differentiate. You see what I'm saying?
No,
I would
no,
say
I got
that
you.
rock is God.
I got you. I'm saying before anything, a pot, a rock, humans, anything, that there was something that was outside of God.
No.
So where is this nothing that you're saying that he created at?
Remember, I told you the thought.
Okay, so the thought is coming from God.
Right, but the thought still can come from
That's dark energy.
nothing. As in the thought doesn't have to come from
It's nothing. Dark energy is nothing.
I mean, but that's the way that you understand it, like I said, being in this universe, because dark energy is actually a material, right? It would have to be electrons and neutrons, whatever makes
No,
dark.
it's not. Nah, it's not. It's before that.
According to science.
According to science, yeah. Dark energy is the nothingness.
I know, but
And then it goes to dark matter.
Okay, yeah, dark matter. So obviously, if it's a dark matter, obviously it's made of some type of material or some type of substance.
And that is what then creates the matter, which is the physical, the 0.1% that we can see.
So when you say the nothingness, and I'm asking you, Selfmade, are we talking about matter and antimatter?
Pretty much.
Well, even as I'm looking it up, it says that like basically.
Yeah, see, it's an anti-material. Okay, antimatter.
Exactly.
I just now said.
But it also says that it's a type of particle. Basically, they call it WIMPs, weakly interactive massive particles. So it's basically, so if we're talking about particles, we're talking about a material. You get what I'm saying? So even darkness, or even whatever you're saying, is still a particle. It's still part of the elemental system, and that's what I mean. There's a design that makes darkness. You follow what I'm saying? There's a design that makes darkness. Darkness can't exist without that design being in place. You follow what I'm saying?
No, for sure. I fuck with that, and that's what I'm saying.
So my thing is this though. There's nothing outside of that.
Nothing outside of what?
Outside of dark energy, dark matter, and matter.
That you know of, right?
That anybody know, like there's nothing outside of that.
But at the same time, we're still trying to discover God. So there clearly is something outside of that, or we would know exactly what God is. We wouldn't even be having this discussion.
We do know.
You follow me?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So what do you
assume based on a certain faith?
Do you think that God, what do you think that, because the example that you gave earlier to the question I'm about to ask is that in a different realm, God may present itself in a different form, right? Or maybe producing different things, right?
You said that God created itself out of a different form?
No. I'm saying in the example that you gave earlier, you said we can't fully define what God is because in a different realm, God may present itself in a different form, and we're only looking at God from this form or realm that we're in right now, so we can't even conceptualize what may be going on in a different realm, correct?
Well, when I was talking about realms, I was honestly talking about when I'm thinking of realms, I'm not talking about like different types of like realms that in this form we can't necessarily get to in a way. I'm talking about like kind of like in a way space, right? So like in this universe, like it said that there's thousands of universes, thousands of galaxies, all this other kind of stuff. So what I'm saying is that in this universe, we only get what's coming from the planets around us, from whatever. You see what I'm saying? So it's said that there's a planet that's so dense that every teaspoon is like 1,000,000 pounds or whatever. You get what I'm saying? So what I was saying by this realm is that there's other elements in other realms. Like the sun may keep certain elements from coming our way because we don't know how these things work. It's all made by design, right? So certain things in our realm or in our planetal structure in our universe maybe cannot exist because just the way that our universe is created. You see what I'm saying? So in those other places, we may come in contact with other elements, or there may be other elements in existence that we don't know of that's not in our periodic table.
No,
right.
I got you. So,
but that's still not necessarily us learning who God is, because if God created the elements out of just a thought, that means it's not necessarily his DNA. So us learning and getting to understand those new elements that come into play will still not necessarily, based on the physical, give us an understanding of who God is or what God is.
I got you. So is it not written in the Bible that we're supposed to give praise to God?
Right.
So how can we give praise to something fully if or is it talking about a partial praise? Is it talking about somewhat of a praise, or does it say, hey, I want to be recognized?
I guess it's talking about a full praise.
So if we're and I'm only asking that because it's just like, if we're not ever going to be able to identify what we call God, right? We can't truly give it full praise. We'll be giving it whatever is given us, right?
Well, I think
I think that if we're not able to fully understand what this God is, and that God cheated himself, or it's bad on us because we can never comprehend what this thing is if you're asking for praise. And I think from that perspective, that wouldn't even make sense
based on your understanding. But I think
no, but I'm saying what the Bible is saying. The Bible said, I asked you, does God want praise? And if God wants praise, that's just like saying you want me to call you the top done data king of the whatever gang members, right? But there's nothing out about you that people can say, okay, well, let me give Kareem his props for being that. We would have to know that in order for us to proclaim that. We would have to know that in order for us to give you those props. So if it's written, and I'm not saying that you said it, but if it's written in the Bible that we're supposed to give this God praise, and that means we would have to have some type of knowledge, or we would have to have full knowledge of what this God is. And that's where I'm at with it.
Right. I mean, I think that's self procluded, right? I don't think that's necessarily a conclusion that comes from necessarily that, but that's your self conclusion where you say, okay, well, if I don't have a full understanding of what I'm worshiping, then I wouldn't be able to worship it. I think the worship is more of is different layers to what you just said, because I think worship is more of a commandment than something that we have to fully understand. But I think that the understanding is there, as in far as why do we worship God? Because of creation. You see what I'm saying? We can still see what he created. We know that creation exists, right? So
you hold on, wait. So you saying we have to worship it because we understand the creation part?
No, I think we should worship God because we are creation and we're given the commandment to worship, right? But also,
so that's a fixed
point. Follow me. But also, you said that there would be no reason to worship. We don't have to understand God fully, but we can see the miraculous things that he's done that are, you know what I'm saying, that we know we can't do, that we know that are higher than us. So that in itself is a reason to give God praise without even understanding him fully, because we can see the magnificence of his creation being within ourselves and being within the universe that we live in.
I got you. What if I'm looking at God and I'm seeing natural disasters and death and all these different things, and I choose not to worship it based on what I know that it created?
But that would be that would be your own conclusion, right? So
I'm just saying. So it could go either way, is what I'm saying.
Right, yeah. But that's why I said in the beginning, we're here as creation. Like when I make a pot, the pot got the whole water. That's what I made the pot for. In my case of making a pot, I made the pot the whole water. And so if the pot ain't holding water, then it's just not functioning the way in its original design, right?
What'd you make the tornado for?
Hey, I'm just saying I can't go into tornadoes. I'm good with a pot, right? It's the whole
No,
water.
we can stick to pot, but it's just like, but if you created a pot to be a pot, and see, we would have to go back into the angels. Like, do angels have free will? And you would say no, or some people would say no. But it's just like so by design, huh?
Why would you have to go to angels right now?
No, because I'm saying if you're saying that we should worship this thing simply because we're creation, then what happened with the angels?
Well, it says that everything else, everything else basically worship God and understand that, except for man. You know what I'm saying? Like the dog and everything else, they design. You know what I'm saying? Like we the only one don't worship God for what God is. You know what I mean?
So when you say worship, right? What is how does that look to you?
I mean, we can go into like a definition of it. You know what I mean? It would have to be, worshiping God.
No, I'm saying so you're saying that I'm assuming that you're saying that we have an understanding of God that animals don't.
I think we're going too far left.
No, I'm saying because you brought up other things have a natural design, and we're the only beings that I guess you said go against God, right?
Well, I was commenting off a certain part of the Bible where it says that it may not say it in them exact words, but it basically says that everything else that's created gives basically glory to God or understands that God is the creator. You get what I'm saying? So just with that understanding, it gives us reason to worship God. We don't have to know everything about God, or we don't have to be, because that was your point earlier, is in saying that if I don't understand who God is, or I don't even have the capability or the ability to understand fully who he is, then why should I worship him? I'm making the point that
No, it's not a why. It's not. I didn't say that. It's not a why should I worship him. If you're asking me to give you full praise and I don't fully know you, there's no possible way that I can give you full praise. It's not a why. It's an impossible.
Well, I guess that would be based on what is your definition of praise.
That's what I was trying to ask you. What's the definition of worship?
well, I mean, it would be upholding you as the Most High, and the things you can do that by understanding by creation that he is the Most High without understanding him fully. You see what I'm saying?
Right here it says, I form the light. And this is what Woon was saying earlier. He said form, right? And I looked it up, the definition, and to even form something, there has to be something there.
Pre-existence, yeah.
And that's what it says, the visible shape or configuration of something. It doesn't say of nothing. And so to form light, like
right, but we're talking about another step in the process, because like you said, to form light, it has to come. Once you use that word form, that means something was in pre-existence. You're right, because you got to remember the original existence came from a word, and the word came from a thought, right? So, and we already determined that the thought comes from nothing.
No, the thought comes from God.
It's created out of nothing, right? Uh-huh. It's created out of nothing. A thought can be created out of nothing. So I form the light.
Hold on, wait. You said wait.
He formed the elements. We already understand that it takes a certain type of elements to come together, certain type of particles to come together.
Hey, you could easily just say
particles make light.
You could easily just say God is thought.
Well, I was just about to speak to that because you said that a thought comes from nothing, and you said that we know that, but I don't think that thoughts come from nothing. Like how can you conceptualize that to make that make sense?
Well, if there's an original thought, right? Because we're talking about God. Of course, when we're talking about us, then you would say it come from somewhere. because again, we're working on this earthly plane. Everything comes from something. But when we're talking about the original thought that never was in existence before, then it comes from God, right? But it doesn't necessarily come from, if we're using tangibles at the same time, because we're talking about creation and we're talking about uh uh formulation. This is how the conversation all started, was based on things were formulated and things were already here. We're saying what was already here as in it's in existence, right?
Right.
But then we went to that part where it said that God made everything from nihilo, which means nothing that was in existence, no current material. You see what I'm saying? Which could only be
material. Thoughts and energy aren't material.
Well, energy definitely is material. There's certain particles that come together, right, to create energy. This is how it's done, and you actually have to have a formula for energy to even come into place, because energy is has to be some type of motion. You get what I'm saying? And for motion to exist, there has to be a design. So for me, it all goes back to a creator anyway.
Where does motion come from?
Right.
It would come from a formula.
What's the formula?
Yeah,
I don't know the formula, but I'm saying it would have to come from a formula, right? We can look up the definition of energy.
I'm asking these,
and I've never believed that energy comes in, like, to say that, because a lot of people believe that energy just has always existed. So we put God in the place of energy, like he's energy. I've never believed that. I believe that energy was created. You see what I'm saying? And then we only have examples of that here on in our realm, that energy is created, which is when we're talking about motion, which is when we're talking about design.
Energy cannot be created. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It just changes form.
Based on what? Based on who said that?
The law of thermodynamics.
Okay, but that's made by man, right? And based on the design that we see and the structure.
No, it's like a law of the universe.
Okay, but would you agree that we're limited to our universe?
That we are limited to our universe.
Yeah, would you agree that in a physical form or on an elemental level that we're limited to the nature of our universe?
Sure.
Okay, so then when we're talking about energy we're talking about in this universe. But if there's something that can create energy that we already have established is outside of our universe, because it's outside of our universe because it was made from not who I am, but from nothing. You see what I'm saying?
So
I'm outside of this universe. So even though I am this universe, I also am not this universe, because the universe is not made of me. Do you follow what I'm saying?
So that's what I'm saying. So what to you, right? And you can give me I don't know, that'll be fine. But what do you think that God is made of?
I'm okay with not understanding what God is made of and realizing.
No. I'm not asking that. Right. I'm just saying, what do you think that God is made of?
Well, I think that it's not up for me to think. Like I think that I don't have the evidence to think on it. You see what I'm saying? Like,
that's what I'm saying. So
all I can do is assume based on. Watch this real quick. So all I can do at that point is assume based on my understanding in this earthly realm. This is what I was going to, in this universe that we exist in, and on how things are formulated. Then I have to just assume that he functions like me, which would be wrong for me to assume that, because I am not God, right? And I know I'm not God because I can't do the things that God does, if that makes sense.
That's cool. I got you. So with your and I'm not trying to say it like this, but with your lack of understanding of what God is made up of, sometimes it's okay to say, okay, well, if we understand that from your perspective that God creates things, he has to have a mind, right? And it has to have some type of energy in order to do these things that we're talking about. So whatever constitutes consciousness and energy, or thoughts and energy, would have to be a part of what God is, right? Can we just at least agree to that?
We can agree to whatever you want to agree to.
Hey, and when you say the universe, I'm thinking you saying the universe is everything.
He
I
said
guess
there's multi universes too.
it would be everything in a way, because remember the universe is made of elements, right?
Right.
And we already established. See, this it's hard for us to figure out, because again we only go off of what we understand. So yeah, the universe is everything, but we already understand. If we're going off of this verse in the Bible, right? That one verse where it says he made the universe from nothing that was in pre-existence, so it's not of himself. So yeah, the universe is everything, but then what it wouldn't be part of himself, right? Which would suggest that the elements that the universe is made of is not the elements that he's made of.
We probably got to pull up that scripture. Hey, but real quick, Kareem, because I want to, because I do want to talk to the people that's also in the chat. And shout out to Krishna, I see you in here. And shout out to the boy Antasara here. Hey, you still there, Self?
Yo.
Yeah, nah, yeah. Travell, my homeboy, Humming boy, he said he got a question for you. Hey, you could put the question in there, Travell. We rocking. Not to cut your wisdom though, Kareem, because I understand what you're saying for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
But where we go, because we always go. Where we go to, it's always a place of, I guess it goes either to a place of not being able to say, hey, I've been to this realm to see what this is, or from this point we just have to go into a belief. And that's either way it goes, absolutely fine. Because from my perspective, it's still going to be discovered, because I don't think that God would hide itself from its creation, or can hide itself from its creation. If we're talking about now, just like you said, in a different realm, God may not even want to be praised. Like, you know what I mean? He just want to be on some tuck shit. You feel me? But as far as we know, from this perspective, from the biblical literature, okay, you want to get that praise. So we are only doing the best that we can by way of seeing what the creation is and how it moves, and that's how we give God praise. You said that earlier, right? So
yeah, I guess so in a way.
So on that type of time, that's we only doing what is presented to us.
Right, but even in the Bible, it says that we're not made to understand everything, and everything is not for our understanding. At least, probably not on. And it doesn't say that, it doesn't give us the at least, but I'm assuming probably not on on this physical level. You see what I'm saying, or in this form that we're in now.
Yeah, no, sure.
And maybe never. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah, I think with that, and I agree with that, because imagine if we come in understanding everything, then what would life be? What would be the necessity for living? Right?
You would go back to the darkness.
Right.
Plain and simple. The structure out of the chaos. You know what I'm saying? Like if you that's like coming here. We talked about that. That's like coming here with the knowledge of God already present, like right now. We would be like, what the fuck is he here for, bro? Like, why are
you'll
we
get bored out your fucking mind? So I agree with that.
Yeah.
But I think that the level of discovery is saying, okay, well, I'm gonna give you purpose. I'm gonna go ahead and what I mean?
Everything we discover is an aspect of ourselves. We'll never be able to get away from that. You know what I mean? Like everything that we come into discovery, we're gonna have
that makes
aspects
perfect
of
sense.
us in that.
That actually makes perfect sense in a way. And it reminds you, I'm not even saying like what I necessarily believe right now. I'm just basing it off of this verse. And if that verse is true, right? That would
we build it.
Right. So discovery, only thing that we would be able to discover is ourselves. It's because why? It's because we're limited in this universe based on what's accessible to us. You see what you follow what I'm saying?
Hey, look.
No, there's nothing not like, I mean, what would be not accessible in multiple universes?
Well, we already went over that, like the full understanding of God.
It would be nothing.
Well, no, it would be we would only be able to understand necessarily in and remember I'm talking about in a more like physical form when we're talking about how because this whole conversation when I jumped in started off of the formulation, which means of things that's already in existence, right? So again, we would only be able to form these thoughts off of the things that's in existence that was created and put here for us to understand. But if that existence it's within God because it's a part of it, but it's also outside of God because it wasn't made.
But that's all we then that would be all we needed. What else would we need? If I could find everything I need to find in the universe, then what else would I like? What else would I need to discover?
That's the way to look at it. Maybe God.
See, hey, look right there, right? Because I was gonna ask you earlier, because you were saying we'll never be able to fully understand what God is. And I was gonna ask you, will we ever be able to fully understand what we are? And I'm gonna ask that question both in a spiritual form and in a human form, right? And it's just like, and Kareem used to bring up a interesting scripture. They used to say, why do I do the things that I, choose not to do? And I'm paraphrasing right now, right? And that's still a part of, trying to figure out who you are. Why do we do the things that we do? So I think that would be, a forever thing. Are we going to figure it out in this lifetime? Maybe, maybe not. But I know that when it comes down to, and I'm saying responding to the actions, or responding to the certain, however we're feeling, the energy that we're into makes us do certain things, or we have the choice or the option to do it, right? And we can say that boils down to having free will. We can say that boils down to saying, hey, we got good energy and we got bad energy, and sometimes both of those things need to be fed until we're able to get past the realm of, until we get it out of our system, right? But outside of that, we will still grow. Like, you know what I mean? We grow until we perish. Like, you know what I mean? And then even in that, we may go to a whole different realm, and then we'll still have to figure out what that aspect of us is. So it's a forever journey. It's an infinite discovery of both self and both what's around us. Like, you know what I mean? So I fuck with you on that, because to get a full understanding of what something is, right, from this perspective, we will be cheating ourselves. You feel me? Okay, yeah, I got everything with you about woo. But I think that it's possible for the more different experiences that we have, but do we keep the same? The question would now be, do I remember when I was on the seventh dimension and then I came back down to this third? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so then we'll just be like, well, maybe I have been to that seventh dimension. I don't know. I don't remember. But then certain things let us know that's how we're able to create things outside of certain dimensions, because it's already within us, or it comes through us to downloads, and that's how we put things together and make new creations and shit, right? Or we start to make new discoveries and shit. Like, you know what I mean? But I was trying to read this shit real quick from Dante, because he said, and I don't know what he's responding to, but he said, no, sir, not at all. Because Big Dog Woon, you said because he grows and creates, he has to have a mind. Not at all, because my belief is he is the earth which formed itself. Just think the earth grows diamonds and coals to flowers. Even when something dies, maggots appears to decompose and clean up. So the earth itself grows everything, even nutrients, like Dr. Sebi survive with everything healthy from the ground. So earth is also God. Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely, yeah, because I mean, you can't. I don't think that. I think that everything that is
right,
because it's not. So it is.
Hey, he said if a child was born in complete darkness, no light, no knowledge of anything pre-existing, could he or she created anything or bring anything into existence? Would he or she have thoughts, and where would they come from? Would they come from God or the child or herself, him or herself.
Oh, I
That
think
reminds me of
asking you that because he wants to ask you something. I think that's for you.
that reminds me of the the Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. You know, as they were naked, they didn't know that they was naked, so they didn't really have no knowledge of anything. I mean, Adam. Oh no, God took the rib from Adam to create Eve. But yeah, they did. They was in a garden. They didn't know nothing. They didn't know that they was naked. They didn't know anything until they ate off of that tree. And what did it say? It said that once they ate off of this tree, y'all will become like us. So when you say would she have thoughts and where would they come from? Would they come from God? Well, as soon as they ate from the tree, they instantly knew they knew that they was naked. You know what I'm saying? It was like all of a sudden the light switch cut on. They knew that they was naked and they covered up. And then God came in there and was like, "Hey, yo, what you doing?" You know what I mean? So it's like, where did the thought? Yeah, if the thought of them being naked came from them eating off of this tree that made them like the gods, then the thought in my mind would come from the source, which is God. If that answered the question.
Well, it even says it because it said they became like us, knowing.
Good from evil. Oh yeah, right. Good and
So,
evil.
that thought, if you're saying that they're like us, then that original thought came from the source.
Right.
But I like how that the last question said, would they come from the God or the child within with the child, him or herself? And that's still dope because now when we're talking about forming different things and different formulations, then now things have different perspectives, right?
Yeah.
So now I don't think so. To answer that question from my perspective, and this is what Kareem has been saying, like, we don't think like God, right? We don't think on that type of time because maybe we're in a different form, just like sometimes we don't think like how animals think, like, you know what I mean? And sometimes we do. It just depends on what stance you're in. But and if we're just looking at different formulas, everybody doesn't have the same thought, right? But one thing that we do understand is that all thoughts come from this one source. So the different perspectives can also be attributed to what your perspective is, and that's why you think how you think, right? And then you start to learn other different places and languages and different things like that. So then you start to damn near be on the same vibrate because we can all vibrate on the same frequency. Like, you know what I mean? We just gotta be programmed or tune into that certain frequency, and we can do it. There's nothing that's not, you know what I mean? That's not. I don't want to say that the source has given us access to, right, or granted access to we can't do it unless that's not a part of our mission. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hold on. Oh yeah, so you said he's going into that part right there. And that's a good point. So Dante said, he said there's a lot that's not accessible. That's why so far beneath the ocean human beings cannot go. There's planets human beings cannot go, but yet and still they found water there, and where there is water, there is life. Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, I get what you're saying right there. So when you're saying there's a lot that's not accessible, right? There's if they because it's saying like you said, well, there's water, there's life, right? So we know that it's accessible, right? Just not in this form, right? So all of the everything that's there is there for a reason to be accessible, right? Which is what I was saying. Like if we're looking for different aspects of God, we're going to find it in different forms, and that's why different forms exist, right? So the things that we can discover, and the things that we can go, we can just point and say, oh, that's God right there. Like, you know what I mean? That's how I would look at it. Like, hey, that's God. Oh shit, that's another part of God right there.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's gonna be infinite. It's gonna be infinite.
Yeah, and it's just gonna keep going. Different realms, different galaxies, different universes. Every time I see that's God. What else is it?
Right.
Even if I turn into a goddamn seahorse, I'm gonna there's God. Like I'm whatever languages seahorses speaking shit. Like that's God.
He said, very interesting. So what is the purpose of faith? And if you have faith, are you believing in God, the universe, or yourself?
We just now had a show about faith. Woo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was crazy.
I would throw out something to that. I would say that faith is whatever you want it to be, because you could have faith in man,
Yep.
or you could have faith in God. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
or you could have faith in like the universe. You know what I mean? Like, so it just depends on how you look at it. I think we all have some form of faith, no matter how you look at it. So you could believe what the way I look at it is I could believe what God say, or I could believe what men say, or I could believe what I see with my eyes. So what I see with my eyes would be I guess what we consider the formulation of things. You know what I'm saying? And then we look at that as God itself. You know what I mean? Or I could believe in the creation, and then I look at that as God. So that's just my answer to that.
No, yeah, I fuck with that. And see, to put my 2 cents in on that, I guess because sometimes it's cringe for me to hear faith and belief in the same sentence and shit, right? Especially when saying that they're in conjunction with the same principle.
Right.
And the reason why I'm saying that is because if you have faith in something, that you no longer need to believe in it. Like nigga, I've already surrendered to that shit. Like you know what I mean? I've already accepted it as it is. Like you know what I mean? So it can stem from a belief, but at the end of the day, you didn't already let go of the belief. You just like nigga, it is what it is. So if you guys caught one of the last shows when I was talking to the guy from the old WASPy, and he was because they called us fakers, and Mike had let me know that before we had the show, and he was like, "Hey, they're fakers, right?" And it's just like understanding from their perspective how they're using the word faithless is just like no matter what is in this realm of reality or any realm of realities, we accept it, right? Because it's coming from this source. So it would be foolish to go against anything that's coming from source. So when people say, the faithless is just like, yeah, but for me, that's just like, again, with that same conversation with old boy, he's like, well, what do you believe? It's like, I don't need to believe anything. Like, this is a lifestyle. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just like, we already accept what is. So it's not a belief. It's a real thing that's happening daily. Like, you know what I mean?
And
And
see,
so,
the way that's interesting to me, not to cut you off, right? But
no,
I
you go.
look at y'all as, because y'all use that word faithless, I look at y'all as creationalist or universalist. You see what I'm saying?
I'm cool
Like,
with that.
so
When you
that's
say creationist, what do you mean by that?
as in you function, you just understand the design of creation, as in your whole everything comes from what you see. You see what I'm saying? From the universal aspect of it. So basically everything that you are saying comes from how the universe works.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I got, and I will accept that, but when you say the universe, I would just still because I don't like because universe just sounds too loose a little bit. It sounds like a little vague, so I would just say
Real loose.
it's loose. I get what you're saying though, because it's just like whatever is, and then if we say that we're in the universe or even a part of the universe, then we would function with that. But I don't like to limit it to just you know what I mean? That's why we just say I am. Like, you know what I mean? Because everything else would be limited. Like, you know what I mean? But I understand what you're saying though fully.
Right.
But from a believer's perspective, uh if we're using that terminology, shit, we would be God. You know, we just rocking with God, like, you know what I mean?
And that's gonna come down to, and as we can see, it's gonna come down to interpretation. Based off
Right,
of people reading the book.
for
you
sure.
know and that's why I was like, you could easily say how the universe works is how God is operating in the Bible, so you could say that it's synonymous in that way too.
Okay, but God is operating in the Bible. I hate to keep going around in these same circles, but God definitely is operating in the Bible based on, because he's dealing with man in the Bible. You see what I'm saying?
That's
The
a
man
fact.
wrote the Bible, and he's dealing with man in the Bible. So
That's a
Mhm.
fact.
again, the way what you see within operation is limited to what man has access to and how we were created in design. So when I say universalist and
Wait, real quick. What would be the difference
what the difference in what?
between what God could do and what man could do?
Well, there would be a lot of difference. There's plenty that's been done that man can't do. We don't have.
But like what? Like create stars and moons?
We've been there already. Create elements. You know what I'm saying? We started off the conversation with that. You know what I'm saying? Man is elements. He can't create elements. You know what I'm saying? Like,
But see, that goes right back down to that same question I asked bro on the last show. But again, maybe not though, because he said he could prove everything objectively in the physical. I don't think you
I
stating
don't
that
think he
claim.
said that. Yeah, nah.
yeah,
No,
no,
I wouldn't even.
I'm saying the opposite of that. It's a lot that we not gonna
We
be able
don't
to
know.
Right, 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 right,
Exactly.
right, right, right,
so
right, right.
that's my point, is that with universalists, you only understand what you're able to understand, and then you make that the everything. You see what I'm saying? When the way that I understand it is that there is something outside of our everything. You see what I'm saying? That's higher than our everything. You get what I'm saying? That's higher than the sun, the moon, the stars, the elements, and everything that's existing in our planetary realm.
But you're saying that, but you're saying all of that is in your belief.
I mean, yeah, it's in my belief based on the evidence in my perspective, right?
So what's the
Yeah.
evidence?
Well, the evidence is that for
Niggas
me,
can create no moon, stars, and suns.
exactly, the evidence is creation itself. The evidence is energy, right? I believe that I believe that everything except God has to be created. I don't believe that God is energy. You see what I'm saying? That's what it goes back to. I believe that God is outside of those things that are created. You get what I'm saying? I think that energy is some
But
form
I'm
of,
saying you're only validating that based off of the fact that we have a sun and a moon that we can see.
not even just that, but just everything. You feel me? Just like the creation, evidence is creation. Creation is the evidence that there's something higher than it in itself. You see what I'm saying? And if there's something higher than it, then what's higher than it is not it.
I got you. So to that, because I was about to say something. Well, let me say what I was about to say. Remind me to get back to that. So when you saying that in a book, right? Because you said in the Bible, God is dealing with man, right? And I get what you're saying from this perspective of saying like, okay, well, these for the people who need these instructions, or for the people who need to be taught it in this way, then I got something for that, right? But we also understand that that there's certain things that what you would say that the Bible says is written on your heart, right? But then it also says that I guess the heart is fickle or some shit like that. But if we're talking about just the because people would say it's basic instructions before leaving Earth, right? So then it's just like that's what I'm saying. So that's for those people who need to hear it in that type of way. But the Spirit talks to people all the time. You were one of the people who told me that, right? So it's
Right.
just like imagine you got an understanding of Spirit talk versus somebody else who has an understanding of I need to hear from the Bible. Like, you know what I mean? So there could be things that's being revealed to us outside of this literature that's coming straight from the source, right?
Coming from a source.
But see, and at the same
The
time,
source, because everything comes from the source.
A source, yeah.
A source. But going back to what we were just now saying, damn, you made me forget. Where was we at? What did you just now? Oh, so with your belief, right? Because it's just like, because I don't think that we can prove that this God created the sun, and because wasn't nobody there.
Yeah, you can't.
Right. So that comes down to a belief in itself right there. So if we're
well, go ahead.
You said
real quick. So if we're
down
saying
to observation, I think not a belief necessarily.
yeah, but you didn't observe it being created, is what I'm saying.
Oh, but we observe it there.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but we can't. But what I'm saying from your belief, it's not, and that's what I think that's what Selfmade was trying to get at, because he was going to bring up the tangible evidence and the physical right now that we can say that this thing created this thing, right?
And I was gonna say I don't know if you understand like the macro and the micro, but there's nothing, even when you look at the sun as it being magnificent, you can find them same elements inside of you.
No, I understand that. I understand that this is the design of our universe. Exactly.
For sure.
So when you say the creation of suns, if you got suns inside of you and you create that within your offspring, ain't that the same on a micro level?
But I mean, you can say it however you want to, but we kind
you said, "Oh, none of that."
And I say that because you say I have sons inside of me, but the fact is I don't have sons inside of me. You see what I'm saying? If I had sons inside of me, it would just be called a son. You follow what I'm saying? So that's why I was saying a long time ago that a pot is a pot. A pot ain't God.
It's just a different form. It's a different form of the same thing.
Right.
Right. This is. I don't want to go in circles, but this is definitely how our universe is designed. You know what I'm saying? For it's all made of elements. But we already went back to the fact that well, based on the Bible, what the Bible is saying is that God is not necessarily elements. You see what I'm saying?
Right. I mean, I don't know if it said that, but I mean, if that's a perspective that if that's your perspective, is lit. But we're talking about, because I know what you're talking about when it says nothing that pre-existed in the material. Hey, but Travell, real quick, he said nobody would even know the word spirit or spiritual if not for the Bible. I'll fuck with that, right? I don't know if there's other. Hold on, is there may be other religious texts that use the word spirit. They may say the word chi. They may say, like, you know what I mean? So ultimately, we're just talking about, that's why I break it down to energy and consciousness. But even without text, we wouldn't know energy and consciousness. So this is why, the understanding of the ism, right? What is, like, you know what I mean? And everything is. So that's why, we stand on, okay, well, this is what it is, right? And that's why, and then we get into, different forms of, words that are backed by energy and different things like that. So, it all comes down to, being in this form, just like Kareem was saying, we're in this form. So we have to use whatever tools that we have to communicate, right? But outside of that, everything, was still bust down to, consciousness and energy for real. We just try to identify it just like we try to identify God or ourselves, or for that matter. And real quick, let me shout out to everybody that's in the building right now. Y'all got the comment section lit. Hey, Travell, we definitely got to have you pull up, because I know you come from that what they call the belt of the Bible, and I know that you tapped in on certain shit. Shout out to NSR too. You gotta pull up and shit too, because I know you got the Egyptology side of what that is and shit. You feel me? So definitely shout out to everybody that's bringing their angle of light. the knowledge. I love Kareem's questions. Hey, Kareem, a nigga that'll keep you on your toes for real.
For real. Shout out to Kareem, everybody else in the chat for sure. Yeah. What do you say?
Hey, so
Oh yeah.
hey, so this is way left, right?
Oh yeah, no, we building. It's good.
But hey, I sent y'all a video, right, about like hell, right? And it was people's, people who said that they had went to hell and kind of like came back, but they had an experience from hell, right?
Yep.
And it kind of plays into what we're talking about, because we were talking about like thought. And I believe that the way that we're talking about thought is almost like as if thought is okay. So like based on, so like people's testimonies, right, when they went to hell, I'm gonna circle back around. Based on people's testimonies when they went to hell, was that their ability to move, they no longer had the ability to move. They didn't have the ability to breathe, they didn't have the ability to speak, they didn't have the ability to do a lot of basic things that we think that just is natural, that's within our structure or design to have, right?
Are you
So
saying? By the way, real quick, just to be clear, are you saying in the as our human physical self, or are you saying what form are you saying?
what we would
No,
be
they died, right?
right, they would be dead, so they would be in the spiritual, right?
Oh, okay,
So,
go ahead. Okay.
so like even in the spiritual, there's you wouldn't have the ability to move, or you wouldn't have the ability to talk, because I guess even in the spiritual you could still have communication, some type of verbal communication, I guess, you know what I'm saying, whatever that would look like in the spiritual. Or you could still have the ability to move, however that would look like in the spiritual. Or you would have the ability to, my point was, I was circling back around to thought, right? And how we say that, you know so just my idea based on that, right? And I believe some of that stuff. I don't want to go too much into that, but I believe some of those experiences to be have some truth in them, right? And so basically what it was saying is those things are a gift from God. You get what I'm saying? To even have thought. You see what I'm saying? So just the fact that thought can be given to us and taken from us kind of proves that,
But
like, a thought has to come from somewhere, but at the same time it's not just given, as in it's part of our structure, or our elemental structure, if you follow what I'm saying. I don't know if I'm making sense.
would you consider consciousness thought?
Yeah.
It would have to be.
But
So when you say take, because I'm hearing like take somebody's consciousness.
right.
So what is that like? I'm in the physical, or like outside of the physical, your consciousness is removed.
Well, I'm just basing that, right, because nobody never said that their consciousness was taken or that their thought was taken. They did say they couldn't think, right? But that could be different from having thought and not being able to think, right? But I'm basing that off of the other abilities that we think are just like natural or given based on what we understand. You see what I'm saying? Like the ability to even move, or the ability to talk, or the ability to do all of these different things that we think are natural to us. Thought could also be a thing that's given to us as a gift. You see what I'm saying? Which would be something that was like, created for us. The way that y'all are talking about thought is that thought or consciousness is like always in
It's natural.
existence. But it can
Yeah,
be
so
something that's created and given to us, and can be taken away as well.
so given and you're and I know that you because you started off with the example to lead to where you just now got to from the guy talking about the experience of being in hell, right?
Right.
There's thought, and then there's the ability to react to your thoughts, right? Which is speaking, which is moving, which is all those different things. But if he was aware that he couldn't move or speak, that means he was still thinking. The thought never left.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Again, I wasn't saying that he didn't have thought. I'm just saying that if these other things can be taken from you, you know what I'm saying? Like what they realized is that these things are gifts. Even the ability to be able to breathe. You don't have to think to
But you
breathe, right?
use physical terminology.
Well,
Like,
what about breathing? Do you have to? Well,
you
it's
wouldn't
thought.
have a body to breathe, you wouldn't have arms to move, you wouldn't have a mouth to speak.
Well, they realized that they couldn't breathe, so obviously they wanted to breathe, right?
No, but they
Well,
don't need to breathe.
yeah. Because they
Okay.
don't have a
That's why
body.
I'm asking you, what are we talking about? The physical body, or are we
Well,
talking spiritual?
basically what I was just saying, if there's things that can be taken from us that we generally identify as being something that's natural to us, thought could be the same way. I wasn't saying that they didn't necessarily have thought. You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, so you were just saying like that's a possibility.
Yeah, that thought could be something that's not natural to us. It's just like it's something that's given to us and can be taken away. I was coming completely like separate from the
Yeah. No, I
conversation.
got you. I got you.
But if thought can be like if thought is like a created thing, then thought in itself would come from nothing in a way. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's just like for me, um, no matter what form you're in, if you're in form, that's what they call it. Information is like a thought process or a thinking or something like that. If you're informed or some about something, or if you're in formation of being formulated, I think that
You're conscious.
that consciousness will always be present.
Until you don't, and yeah,
But why?
even you
But why
not
would
taking
why
form.
would we need if we're because like you said we wouldn't need to breathe, we wouldn't need to do all these other things. Why would we need to have thought, especially if we're energy and
Well,
energy?
if well,
Because you're
What
having an experience.
exactly. If you're saying that this, and I'm not saying that you, but I'm saying the people, if they're saying that they went to hell for something and they came back, obviously that was to inform them about something, so they'll be put into form when they get out of there. So
Yeah.
that's the reason for being conscious, is so that they can take whatever lesson that they took. Like, you know what I mean?
But why would okay I can go for that most definitely, right? But let's go back to what you were saying. Why would energy need to have an experience or understand an experience if it's energy, if it's just in the form of energy? And what are we calling energy if energy does need to have an experience?
No, energy
No,
is like,
energy is the experience.
yeah,
Okay, but
it's
so
the vessel at which the soul operates through.
but I'm saying if we're on another plane, right? Like if we die as human beings, then we turn into energy, right?
We're
I mean, is that what
soul.
y'all believe?
I would say pure consciousness.
Which is a form of energy, right?
For sure.
Right.
Okay, so and if you're energy, then why would you need to be conscious? And then what is energy? It's consciousness, but it's also like because we talked about it before. I know you said energy can't be created or it can be created, but energy we see energy be created. You know what I'm saying? Like
No, we don't. We don't
it
see energy be created.
okay, but it probably was in existence. But you can do a movement and it creates energy.
Yeah, you can replicate it. You can,
Yeah.
you can generate it,
Or form it.
or you can form it. Yeah, too. As soon as you generate it, you can do whatever you want to do with it. And it's just like,
And that would be coming from the quote unquote hidden source.
right, because it's always there. Only thing you got to do is find the means to make the connection.
Mm-hmm.
But just going back to just the thought. It would ultimately always be there. And if we're talking about the energy that needs to have the experience, just like Self was saying, like, that's kind of like the means for the thoughts to get around to experience. Like energy would be the experience, thoughts would be the experience, because we can't experience anything without thinking about it. We can't experience anything without without truly feeling it. Like, you know what I mean? So feelings come from the emotional energy side of that spectrum as well. So
That's
you
why
know,
they
I
say
don't.
our thoughts create our reality.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, no, I think in all situations, those two things are always there. They're always prevalent. They always, because they are. They it is what it is.
It's the same. It's two sides of the same coin.
Right.
You know, light and darkness,
So
the chaos and the structure.
so would you say that like so energy would be somewhat made out of like particles, neutrons, electrons, all of these different things, right?
It would be. It would be the you said energy. Energy would be
In all
the
that.
dense version of the elements. Consciousness would be the not the the gas form, I guess you could say, of consciousness and energy. It's just vibrations, and the more you vibrate and the denser you go within the vibration, the more physical you become.
Mm-hmm.
That's with everything, like rocks and shit. Like that's how you can tell the density and you feel me, how much they vibrate and all the shit that they give off. They using crystals in our laptops and shit. Like, you know what I'm saying?
When you
And
say
then
the
the
more
less
that means like the more that you get into it, or the more you, because you say the more you vibrate, the more dense you become, and that becomes more physical.
right.
So you believe that the physical form is like the highest form of uh like energy, or the highest form of thought.
That's a great question.
That's a good question.
That's a great question. And I knew he was going to go there with it. That was a dope ass question. I
I
think
was
I think it's all on the same scale to answer that question.
I would say every form uh is on the same scale, like can is the highest of the high, if that's what you was asking.
Yeah, because
Like
that.
the
I'm
form
sorry. Go
of
ahead.
what it is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's what
I
makes
don't.
it. Go
I'm
ahead, go
sorry.
ahead.
My bad. I was just going to say I don't think that it loses its core essence of what it is because it's formulated into something. Like, you know what I mean? I think that because people could say, "Hey, well, you just have," and I hate to say this example, but y'all know I get silly sometimes. You just got this egg and you got this sperm, but then when the baby come, you praise the baby. You don't give a fuck. Niggas don't give a fuck about sperm like that. Niggas jack off and feed it to a goddamn napkin. But when you see when you see that in a baby form, then you're like, oh shit, this is way better than that. Like, you
Right.
know what I mean? But then you'll have to say, well, what got the baby here? You have to say nut. Like, you know what I mean? So it just depends on what perspective that you're looking from and shit. But I think everything is. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm just uh I'm gonna use it in your words. I appreciate all God's creations and everything that's formed in all the shit. You feel me? All the same. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Most definitely.
Yeah, no, that's real. We ain't got bruh no more, huh? Humming boy.
Oh no, yeah. He said he
He was
appreciates
slow.
y'all. This is needed. Yeah, for sure. We gotta have him on here
Man, for real. He had some good questions.
for sure.
Who else we have? Oh yeah, Krishna.
He out there. He out there in Louisiana. No, is he in Louisiana? No. Let me take that back.
He on soft.
Boom. Hey, Kareem, where's Terrell? Where's Terrell at?
That's Travell. Travell.
Yeah,
I think he in Mississippi or some shit.
Mississippi. I'm sorry. Yeah, you right. Yeah, I'm hella trippy.
I'm not sure
Hella
though.
Mississippi. Yeah.
Oh, that's Humming Boy. Okay.
Yeah, that's him.
That's what's up.
Seen God before.
Yeah, man. When y'all was on here with the other cats, I wanted to get into a deeper because you know they was talking about the Bible or whatever, and I'm trying to figure out how so much is based on the Bible that they believe in, but then they don't believe in it. I'm like, so what? How do y'all decipher? How do y'all pick apart what you should believe and what you shouldn't, other than just some other person saying it? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hey, he would have broke out the book and got to reading.
but I'm like, if you don't believe in it, then it destroys the essence of what it is. So then how can you believe in the other things? It would kind of denounce, or you know what I'm saying, destroy what the other parts that you believe in too. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Exactly. But you said something that was important. A lot of that book is Bible based.
The whole thing is, from my
Yeah,
understanding.
you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just like you can't. How you gonna say like, man, that shit fake, but then your shit come from that shit?
Uh,
It's just,
I
it just
wanted to get
a little
deeper
bit.
into that. Like, how do y'all pacify that, or how do you know what I'm saying? How do you deal with that to still believe what you believe in? You know what I'm saying? If you're saying that so much of this is plagiarized, and
Yeah,
then how do you decipher what's plagiarized in that book compared to your book? You see what I'm saying?
yeah. See, and because I asked that same question to keep it a stack, and ultimately the answer that I got is that you know that the plagiarism that's within the Bible is explained in the Owaspi, right? I don't know if you was on at the time that we was because the Owaspi, they say that the author wrote the book from automatic writing, right?
yeah.
So
From automatic writing, from like he was like it was what do you call it, heavenly based,
Kind of like how they say in the Bible was inspired by God.
right?
It was like he said automatic writing, to where it's like an angel or a spirit takes over his arm and writes out like spiritual text.
Okay,
right. So
that's deep right
I'm assuming that the the gods that influenced the Bible is not the same. Didn't the angels? It was two different motherfuckers coming from two different sources because
That's what he. Yeah.
they have two different accounts of what happened. Like you know what I mean? Uh,
which
but
actually makes sense, but yeah.
yeah, and I'm saying that jokingly, like you know what I mean. But it's just like, well, shit, that angel had something that this angel didn't have. Like you know what I mean? And they would say, yeah, that's because there's false gods in the Bible, and Moses didn't write certain things, and it was just a lot. Um, and that's why I was like ultimately trying to ask, well, what did you get from this book that you didn't get from the Bible? Like, you know what I mean? Or whatever book. And I guess it's say, I guess it's the real gospel truth.
Man, that's crazy. That's why it's like,
It's a trip though how every major religion anyway, from Hinduism to the Bible to Islam to I guess the Waspi. That was actually the first time I heard of the Waspi. But all of these books have the same like authorship, like that they're heavenly inspired. You mentioned angels,
Yeah,
and that's what it appears to be. You see what I'm saying? Is like that's how I make sense of it anyway. Is like the Bible talks about like fallen angels and how angels came down and gave men information they weren't even necessarily supposed to have and all this other stuff. And then like remember I think I mentioned it on this podcast a long time ago how it says that Islam or the Muslims were made from this man going into the cave and then an angel came to him. And then in Hinduism it talked about how uh, whoever went out there, Buddha or whoever, you know what I'm saying, went out there into the mountains and he was sitting in the mountains and then basically an angel came to him as well. And the Bible was supposed to be you know, um, Yeah, so it's just interesting. It does sound like it's different entities coming to
Yeah.
cause confusion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think, and that's interesting that you say that, right? Because it's just like if I'm assuming that that a lot of these textbooks are spawning from different parts of the world, like, you know what I mean. So is it important, to have specific, and I'm saying specific like this because obviously people have different accords of you know of the what is, right? So just having that, it's just like if everybody has these inspired by angel inspired by angels or inspired by God type of shits, it's just like, okay, well, you know is the angels beefing? You know what I mean?
Uh,
Like what does that look like? Like, you know what I mean? But it's just like how I was saying with you earlier, Kareem. It's just like, you've told me that you've gotten specific. I don't want to say information because I don't want to throw nothing on you, but I know you said that you've received certain things from certain from I guess you want to say angels or God or whatever, and it's just like so that may be specifically for you, right? So it's up to you if you want to say, well, this is what this guy came down and told me personally, but then I'm gonna make it a doctrine and I'm gonna force it on you, or do you keep it to yourself? So I think that's when that shit become a little bit tricky because it's just like at that point in time it's just like shit. Well, I guess to spread the word is to spread the word, but sometimes shit is just for you.
yeah, written on your heart.
Yeah, but I guess if we listen to everybody's story, we can probably connect and weave in some of the shit because everybody does have their position. Like everybody's not a writer.
They all
Everybody,
see the same stuff.
yeah,
It's all saying the same thing, just in a different form. Ain't that funny? Like how it's just the reflection of that, like saying the same thing in a different form, like
form, yeah,
the source in different forms.
yeah. But I mean, uh, at the end of the day, people are trying to uh, shed their light on it. Bring their aspects on it, and
I
can't
was
try.
gonna say, hey, when you write your I am versus the am I, you got to put inspired by.
Hey, that's hella funny because I
Hey,
think
just put automatic writing.
you're right. Hey, because I think I put in my preface, like I think, and I told, and Kareem, you ain't in the I don't know if you're in the group chat anymore, but I'm a definitely reference everybody who I've had a debate with, people that's online in life, like so it's inspired by all of that, like,
Right.
you know what I mean. So I'm gonna just say shit, nigga. For the niggas who was aiding me on my journey, this buzz for you.
Huh.
On some FUBU shit, for us, by us.
Right. Yeah, man. Well, I'm mad that we weren't able to get what's her name on here. Maybe next time.
I forgot all about Jessica. She was that
Yes,
pulled up.
yeah.
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 Yeah, we'll catch her on the next one. But it was because she did ask me today, and then my response was today. And then she was like,
Right.
oh, shit. So we'll probably just try to have something planned for her. So, give her a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Get the notes together.
I thought y'all said y'all was gonna be cutting these down to about an hour or something. That's what about 3 right now.
And that's the limit. That's what we were saying. 3.
Yeah. Yeah, 3 is
Yeah.
the limit.
Cause we was going for 7-8 hours and shit.
That shit. Just thinking about it, that shit sounds crazy right now.
Full shifts, man. Full job
So y'all
shifts.
been back on the group chat then?
You said that one more time.
Y'all been back on the group chat?
Oh man, that I mean,
Not really.
yeah, I'll probably be in that thing like once a week, probably.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes if that.
Yeah, I'm still in there, but it's on my it's on my other page. I don't be on that page that much.
Oh, okay, yeah. You know that page is it's still gonna be there. It's still, it is what it is. But I think that we've had so many different conversations, and everybody's grown so much that it's just like shit until we discover some different shit. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's always that's why I'm assuming that's why we started doing the podcast a little bit more, because it's just like, okay, let's get some people outside of that group chat involved, which is why we did this whole show in the first place. Like, you know what I mean? But I appreciate you, Kareem. You always you always pull up with the questions, and I'll be like, man, this nigga be on point like a motherfucker.
Yeah, no doubt. I be listening to y'all when y'all be on here, so you know what I'm saying. I figured it was the perfect time to jump in when there wasn't too much conversation going on.
Right.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
But again, shout out to everybody that pulled up in the chat.
Yeah.
Shout out to everybody that's tapping in from YouTube. We appreciate the subscriptions. Appreciate the likes, the comments, the shares, everything to keep us in rotation. We've been doing a thing to where we're starting to put out more clips, just in case if you missed some of the shows, and we're able to generate just like a small synopsis of what we were talking about. And I think people are taking kindly to that, so we appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Man,
Well, shout out to Tanya. I see you in the building.
Appreciate the young life, man. Slid through for the first time in a minute.
Oh yeah, hey, Sonny came through. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I fuck with Sonny because he told me, he was like, "Yep, I'm gonna come on," but he he's getting to that age where he's just like, "All right, we finna see what's poppin'."
Right. I mean, it's good to see. It's good to see the growth, in the young life for sure. We got to have another young life show, man.
Hey, that's what I was thinking when I saw him on there. I was like, y'all gotta have just a whole bunch of young lives on there.
Yeah.
And see how they think and all of that.
Yeah.
That's the fact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
Yeah, but I appreciate y'all having me on, man. I'm gonna bounce out.
Always, bro.
Bulletproof love.
Yeah, man. I know we're gonna have to double back with when Jessica ready, and then we still got that relationships one. I know they wanted to talk, touch on.
Right.
We got some stuff in the works for sure, coming up.
Yeah, for sure. And I have to say, Danae Smith, I apologize. I thought you was somebody totally different. That's on Facebook. Is that your people?
Yeah. I thought you knew because I mean, you know what I'm saying? I don't know her that like that, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
It's just
Because
off the book.
her name is super similar to. That's why when she was like, "Doctor, no doctor," and I was like, "Hold on, wait, that may not be."
Hey, you started saying certain stuff to where I was like, "Oh, okay, you might,
Yeah.
know her." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, players fuck
okay.
up, but I did catch that, and I just wanted to correct that. That's not who I thought it was. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So no disrespect to you, lady, but the
Yeah,
more I
no.
see
Shout
you
out
on here,
to
the more I
Janae,
begin to know who you are. That's my fault. I apologize.
Yeah, shout
Be a
out
man and apologize.
to And yeah, shout out to everybody else in the chat, man.
For sure. I didn't even see
Pauline. Bill.
Pauline too. No, I'm sorry. I'm just scrolling through these comments. I didn't see Pauline in the building. More people starting to pop up. I love that shit. That's lit.
Gaia the Sage. Shout out to you. You know who that is?
Nah. YouTube. I know Gaia's Mother Earth. A female, maybe? I'm not.
Right.
But
yeah, shout out to everybody. You know, if you are new, hit us with a subscribe, a like. You know what I'm saying? Help us with the algorithm.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean that damn near concluded it, man. How you feeling? You got any final thoughts?
This right here.
I'm finna throw some sounds in here. Watch.
Hey,
That's what
right.
I'm finna do. Yeah.
So for the people who just new to the channel, I am an author for children's books. I have 5 books out right now. You can find them everywhere. I know a lot of people like to get their things from Amazon. Definitely there. Barnes & Nobles, Books A Million, Walmart.com, and every place that you can find books, that's where they all are. Or you can try to send me a message either through our YouTube, and then I could ship them out and mail them to you directly, and they will be signed copies, and I will be selling them for cheaper than what you find them online. So if you have some young life that you feel can use some new books, I do have reading books. I have some coloring books, and then one is an activity book. So I got some for all the young lives, for sure.
Yeah. Cop you something. Real good books. I got them for my son.
For sure.
But yeah. Oh.
Yeah, that's all I got. Oh yeah, shout out to everybody who bought the books and shit too, because y'all be fucking with me and shit.
You doing another book drives, backpack giveaway?
Yeah. Damn, you making me remember shit. So because I asked the people, because I did it in August last year, and August I felt like, people were just like, man, if he don't pull through, then the kids, you know what I mean? So now I'm just like, nah, let me try to do it earlier, so they know that they, and I'm talking about as far as the parents, so they know that they don't have to spend the money, because it's going to be there early, like a month early before, a month before school starts.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm going to do it. I think I was asking people what's better, either late June or early July. And I think some people were saying like late June. So I'm going to try to shoot for that. It's a couple months away. And right now I'm just looking for a facility to hold it at, because I know being outside, it's going to be hot, like in the summertime, like, you know what I mean? So I'm trying to put it together right now, but for sure it's going down though, for sure.
Okay. So definitely we're gonna be on the lookout for that.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? But other than that, man, I ain't got nothing else to say.
Yeah, great show, man. This is one
great
of the
show. Love it, as always.
Hell yeah.
Another Free Your Mind podcast, man, in the books.
Yes, sir.
All right, y'all.
Gon' free your mind. Gon' free your mind.